She went to bed as just another farmer, living a life defined by routine, hard work, and the quiet rhythm of the land. By the next morning, everything had changed. Thousands of strangers were watching her, analyzing her choices, and forming opinions about a life they had only just discovered. What began as a simple attempt to document daily farm work quickly turned into something far bigger than anyone could have predicted. This wasn't a slow climb to recognition or a carefully planned rise to fame. It was instant, overwhelming, and impossible to control. One moment, she was sharing her reality with almost no audience. The next, she was at the center of a rapidly growing digital spotlight. This kind of sudden attention doesn't come with instructions. There's no manual for how to handle thousands of opinions appearing overnight, or how to maintain authenticity when every action is being watched. The transformation from private individual to public figure happened faster than she could process, leaving little time to adjust. What made her content stand out was its simplicity and honesty, but those same qualities would later expose her to pressures few anticipate when starting out. The story that follows isn't just about success. It's about the cost of visibility, the weight of expectation, and the unintended consequences of sharing a real life with an online audience. Because when the world starts watching, everything changes, and not always in ways you expect. The overnight explosion that changed everything. Most online creators spend years building an audience, slowly gaining traction through consistent uploads and gradual growth. That wasn't the case here. The rise was sudden, almost surreal. In the beginning, the videos were simple, just day-to-day farming tasks recorded without elaborate editing or dramatic storytelling. There was no attempt to go viral, no calculated strategy to capture attention. Yet something unexpected happened. One video began gaining traction, then another, and before long, the algorithm took over. What followed was an overnight surge that transformed an unknown account into a widely watched channel. Waking up to thousands of new viewers wasn't just exciting, it was disorienting. Growth at that speed doesn't allow time to adapt or develop boundaries. One day, there's privacy. The next, there's visibility on a scale that invites constant observation. For a niche like farming, this kind of rapid attention was rare. It brought in viewers from all walks of life, many of whom had never set foot on a farm before. They weren't just clicking out of curiosity, they stayed, watched, and became invested. This sudden interest created a new reality. Every upload now carried weight. Every decision, whether on camera or off, had the potential to be seen, discussed, and judged. The pace of change made it difficult to separate personal life from public content. What had started as a casual project quickly evolved into something much larger, a platform with expectations, influence, and an audience that seemed to grow by the day. Authenticity as the unexpected advantage. What drew people in wasn't flashy production or dramatic storytelling. It was the opposite. The content felt real in a way that stood out against the polished nature of most online videos. There was no attempt to glamorize farming or present it as something effortless. Instead, viewers saw the full picture: long days, unpredictable challenges, and the kind of work that rarely gets attention outside agricultural communities. This raw, unfiltered approach became the defining feature. Rather than positioning herself as an expert, she embraced the learning process. Mistakes weren't hidden, they were shared. Uncertainty wasn't edited out, it was explained. This openness created a sense of connection with viewers. They weren't just watching a finished product, they were witnessing progress in real time. For those unfamiliar with farming, it felt like gaining access to a hidden world. For those within the industry, it felt honest and relatable. But authenticity comes with its own complications. When people feel like they're seeing the real version of someone, they often assume a level of access that doesn't actually exist. The audience began to feel involved, not just informed. That shift changed the dynamic. Viewers started forming opinions, offering advice, and sometimes criticizing decisions as if they were part of the process. The line between sharing and oversharing became increasingly blurred, setting the stage for challenges that would only grow more intense over time. From viewers to critics, the shift in audience behavior at first, the audience simply watched. They were curious, engaged, and appreciative of the insight into a lifestyle they rarely encountered. But as the channel grew, so did the sense of investment among viewers. Watching turned into analyzing. Curiosity turned into commentary, and slowly, the tone began to change. People who had once been passive observers started acting like participants, offering opinions on everything from farming techniques to business decisions. This shift is common when content becomes deeply engaging. The more people feel connected, the more they believe their perspective matters. Advice began flooding in, often from individuals with little or no experience in farming. At the same time, criticism became more frequent. Decisions were questioned, methods were debated, and small details were scrutinized in ways that hadn't existed before. The challenge wasn't just the volume of feedback, it was the expectation behind it. Viewers weren't just sharing thoughts, they were expecting responses, changes, and explanations. This created pressure to justify decisions that had once been personal. The content was no longer just documentation, it had become something people felt entitled to shape. As this dynamic intensified, it became clear that growth came with a trade-off. The same engagement that fueled success also created an environment where every move was open to interpretation. And once that level of scrutiny takes hold, it doesn't fade easily. It becomes part of the experience, influencing not just the content, but the person behind it. When success becomes a public scoreboard, as the channel expanded, attention shifted from daily activities to something more personal: finances and growth. Farming is already a high-cost industry, and when viewers began noticing changes like upgraded equipment or land purchases, questions started to arise. What had once been seen as progress became a topic of debate. Every investment was analyzed, every decision dissected. One milestone, in particular, drew significant attention: the purchase of land. For many, it represented success and achievement. For others, it raised skepticism. People began speculating about income sources, questioning whether online earnings were influencing opportunities in ways they didn't fully understand. The transparency that had initially built trust now invited scrutiny. What often went unnoticed was the risk involved. Farming is unpredictable, and income, whether from agriculture or online platforms, is far from guaranteed. But on the internet, complexity is often reduced to simple narratives. Success is seen, but the uncertainty behind it is overlooked. This shift turned personal decisions into public discussions. The pressure to justify choices grew stronger, and the sense of being constantly evaluated became unavoidable. What had once been a private journey of growth was now a visible, ongoing narrative that others felt compelled to interpret. And as that narrative expanded, so did the intensity of the reactions surrounding it. Backlash and the rise of suspicion with increased visibility came a different kind of attention, one rooted in doubt rather than support. As the audience grew, so did the number of people questioning the authenticity of what they were seeing. Some began labeling the content as performative, suggesting that it was designed more for entertainment than reality. Others scrutinized partnerships and sponsorships, assuming hidden motives behind every collaboration. This shift in perception created a more hostile environment. comments became less about learning and more about judging. The tone changed from curiosity to accusation. Even small moments were taken out of context and used to support broader narratives that often had little basis in reality. The speed at which these narratives formed was striking. A single clip could spark widespread debate, with people drawing conclusions based on limited information. Once these ideas gained traction, they became difficult to challenge. The algorithm amplified engagement, regardless of whether it was positive or negative, allowing criticism to spread just as quickly as support once had. This phase marked a turning point. The channel was no longer just a space for sharing experiences. It had become a subject of ongoing analysis. And with that shift came a new level of pressure, one that extended beyond content creation and into personal identity. Because when people start questioning your reality, the impact goes far deeper than comments on a screen. Rumors, speculation, and the loss of control as criticism grew. It created space for something even more difficult to manage: rumors. Small gaps in information were filled with assumptions, and those assumptions quickly evolved into widely shared claims. Changes in posting patterns or moments of privacy became triggers for speculation. People began constructing narratives without evidence, often presenting them as fact. What made this particularly challenging was the speed at which misinformation spread. Online platforms reward engagement, and rumors often generate more attention than truth. Repetition gave these ideas a sense of credibility, even when they lacked any real foundation. Responding to rumors proved complicated. Addressing them risked amplifying their reach, while ignoring them allowed them to grow unchecked. It created a situation where there was no clear solution, only trade-offs. Meanwhile, the real life behind the content continued, unaffected by the narratives being built online. This loss of control over personal narrative is one of the most difficult aspects of sudden fame. Once information, accurate or not, enters the public space, it becomes nearly impossible to contain. And as these stories spread, they begin to shape perception, influencing how audiences interpret everything that follows. Impersonation and the hidden risks of visibility beyond criticism and rumors. A more serious issue began to emerge: impersonation. Fake accounts started appearing across platforms, using the same name, images, and content to appear legitimate. To many viewers, these accounts were indistinguishable from the real one, making them particularly dangerous. Some impersonators reached out directly to followers, while others promoted misleading links or false opportunities. The trust built with the audience became a vulnerability, exploited by those looking to take advantage of it. Warnings were issued, but by then, the impact was already being felt. This introduced a new layer of responsibility. It wasn't just about managing content or responding to feedback anymore. It was about protecting an audience from potential harm. Monitoring and reporting fake accounts became an ongoing effort, adding to the already growing demands of maintaining an online presence. Impersonation highlights a side of internet fame that is rarely discussed. Visibility doesn't just attract attention, it also creates opportunities for misuse. And unlike criticism or rumors, the consequences here extend beyond perception. They can affect real people in tangible ways. It's a reminder that success online often comes with risks that go far beyond what's visible on the surface. The emotional weight behind constant visibility as the audience continued to grow, the emotional toll of being constantly visible became harder to ignore. What once felt like an exciting opportunity slowly turned into an ongoing responsibility that never paused. Every upload carried the awareness that thousands of people would watch, interpret, and react. Even moments that were meant to be routine began to feel different under observation. Simple decisions what to show, what to explain, what to leave out started carrying emotional weight. There's a subtle but real shift that happens when privacy is reduced. Life stops being just lived and starts being performed in fragments. Not in an artificial way, but in a way shaped by awareness of being seen. That awareness doesn't disappear when the camera is off. It lingers in the background, influencing how moments are experienced and remembered. Over time, this creates fatigue that isn't always visible from the outside. It's not just about workload or public attention, it's about mental space. The feeling that nothing is fully private anymore changes how rest, work, and even personal reflection feel. And while the content may still look simple and grounded, the internal experience behind it becomes increasingly complex. The pressure to keep growing without pause. Success in the digital space rarely comes with a stopping point. Once growth begins, it creates its own momentum. New viewers expect new content, and platforms reward consistency. This creates a cycle where taking breaks can feel risky, even when they are necessary. The expectation isn't just to maintain an audience, it's to continuously expand it. For someone balancing real-world responsibilities like farming, this pressure becomes even more complicated. Unlike purely digital creators, the work doesn't pause when the camera stops rolling. Seasons change, equipment needs attention, land requires care, and all of it exists independently of online performance. Managing both realities at once creates a constant balancing act. At the same time, audience expectations evolve. What once impressed viewers eventually becomes normal. To keep attention, content often has to adapt, improve, or expand. That doesn't always align with the natural rhythm of the work being shown. This mismatch between real-life pace and online demand is one of the most challenging aspects of sustained visibility. Over time, the pressure doesn't always show up as dramatic stress. Instead, it appears as quiet obligation, the feeling that stopping, slowing down, or stepping back might come at a cost that's difficult to measure until it happens. What the audience never sees behind the camera from the outside. What viewers see is a carefully selected version of reality. Even in the most authentic content, there is always a process of choice: what gets filmed, what gets edited, and what ultimately gets shared. The result may feel complete, but it still represents only a fraction of what actually happens. Behind every video is a larger reality that doesn't make it to the screen. Long hours of work that aren't filmed, decisions made without commentary, and moments that are too ordinary or too complicated to include. These unseen parts are just as important as what becomes public, but they remain invisible to the audience. This gap between visible content and lived experience is where misunderstandings often form. Viewers build narratives based on what they see, not what is missing. And while the content may be honest, it is still incomplete by nature. That incompleteness is not deception. It is simply the limitation of sharing real life through selective moments. Understanding this gap helps explain why audiences sometimes develop expectations that don't fully align with reality. What feels like a full picture is actually a curated window, and on the other side of that window is a life that continues whether or not it is being watched. Conclusion: when the spotlight never turns off, what began as a simple attempt to share everyday life evolved into something far more complex. The journey from anonymity to widespread recognition brought opportunities, but it also introduced challenges that few anticipate. Success came quickly, but so did scrutiny, expectation, and risk. The experience reveals a broader truth about modern visibility. When a life becomes content, The boundaries between public and private begin to blur. Every decision carries weight. Every moment has the potential to be interpreted. And stepping away isn't always as simple as turning off a camera. This story isn't just about farming or online growth. It's about the impact of being seen constantly, intensely, and often without context. It raises an important question about the nature of attention in the digital age. When an ordinary life becomes a shared experience for thousands, can it ever truly return to normal? The answer isn't simple, but one thing is clear. Once the spotlight turns on, it rarely fades completely.